So, are you a creator that right now is struggling? Maybe you have 100 fans on your YouTube channel, or your Medium account, or your Substack. Maybe you only have 10 fans or subscribers. Maybe you only have one, and that's just you or your mom. Well, the thing is, we all have this notion that, or this idea in our heads that you need like a million followers to make a living with your art, that you need to be able to amass this huge following for you to make a full-time living doing what you love. But the truth is, you don't. Not really. And this is an idea that's been out there for quite a while now. What am I talking about? So I'm talking about Kevin Kelly's 1,000 True Fans idea. So this was an idea from an article that Kevin Kelly wrote way back in 2008. So in it, he talks about this idea called true fans, and that if you only have 1,000 true fans, you'll already be able to make a full-time living creating the thing that you love to create, whether that's art, whether that's paintings, whether that's digital illustrations, whether that's comics or novels or short stories, poetry even. And the thing is, this idea, since it stemmed way back in 2008, a lot of people have been talking about it, and I'm not the first. And that's what I'm trying to do actually. I'm trying to build my own 1,000 true fans. But let's get into it. What is a true fan in the first place? So when you think about a true fan, the gist is that this is somebody who's willing to pay you or willing to purchase anything that you create or support you in any project that you take on. So let's say you're a musician, you're performing at a certain country or in a certain town or in a certain city. So a true fan would be someone who would go out of their way just to support your concert or your gig. They drive 3 hours just to watch you play, just to listen to your music live rather than on Spotify. That is a true fan. And so when you take this idea of a true fan, someone who's willing to spend X amount of money on whatever you create, and you multiply it by 1,000, you'll be able to create a full-time living just with 1,000 true fans. Alright, so let's do the math on this, just to prove to you that you can make a living with just 1,000 true fans. So, let's say that you already have your 1,000 true fans, and that they're willing to pay you like $100 every year just to get a glimpse or be able to support your work, whether that's painting, that's art, that's short stories or novels. $100 a year. So when you multiply 1,000 by 100, you get 100,000, which is a full-time income from a lot of corporate jobs out there. And that would be able to sustain you and your passion and your whatever dream you want to have, basically, with regards to your art. Or let's say you have 1,000 true fans already, but they can only pay you $50 a year. So 50 times 1,000 is $50,000 a year. That's still a sizable amount. That's still a full-time income, basically, from a lot of corporate jobs out there. But let's say you're like me. You live in the Philippines, and your fans are only able to pay you like $10 a year. $10 a year is 10,000. 10,000 a year. Yeah, that's right. Forgive me. I'm not the best at math. I'm a writer. But anyway, so that's $10,000 a year. That is a lot more than most jobs here in the Philippines will pay you. Mostly, a lot of jobs here in the Philippines will pay you $500 a month. So 10,000 in a year is actually more on the high end of the salaries that you'll get working here in the Philippines. And if you think about it, this idea of true fans, it's not even new. When you think about way back in the day, during the time of the Renaissance, they had what they called patrons. So whether that's Michelangelo, or that's Da Vinci, or whether that's Van Gogh even, they all had patrons. In Van Gogh's case, his patron was his brother Theo, who supported him every step of the way throughout his entire artistic career. So even if nobody else bought Van Gogh's paintings, his brother was still there to support him as a patron. In the same way, Michelangelo basically amassed his riches from his patrons, and even did commissions, or he was commissioned to do work or to create art by these patrons. So these patrons are essentially true fans. So think of your true fans as patrons who really, really love your work and are there to support you every step of the way. So when you're able to find those 1,000 true fans, you'll be set for life, I guess. Mostly, more or less, set for life. And a modern example of this would be someone called Steph Halligan. I first found out about Steph through Jeff Goins. So Jeff Goins is an author who wrote the book called Real Artists Don't Starve. So in this book, he talks about Steph Halligan, who's basically a cartoonist, or she loves to draw at least cartoons. And what she did with this passion for drawing is that she took it and she started drawing basically a motivational quote or a motivational speech or whatever. Something, she made a drawing every day to try and motivate her audience to keep at it, whatever it was, whether it was your passion, your business, life in general. So it's a motivational quote each and every day. And she'd send it to her email list. Eventually, she turned this into a book, which she started selling as well. And this is how she sustained her career as an artist. So she's a prime example of what it means to amass a following of 1,000 true fans. It's possible, basically. It's not an impossibility to get 1,000 people to support you and your work. So now the question is, how do you get your 1,000 true fans? And where do you send them? Do you need a website? Do you need social media accounts? The thing is with social media is that you're building something on rented land. If Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok go away all of a sudden, or even YouTube, if YouTube goes away all of a sudden, you're left hanging with no way to contact your audience or your subscribers or your followers. So what most people and most creators usually advise you is to start an email list. So the thing about an email list is that it's something you own. So even if YouTube were to shut down, even if TikTok were to suspend your account, or if Meta were to shut you down because you didn't follow their community guidelines for some reason, you would still have an email list of your true fans, which you can contact and say, hey guys, look, Facebook shut me down. If you want to follow me, follow this new Facebook account that I just created, right? So you won't lose touch with all the followers who were there solely because they wanted to see more of you. So that's the importance of having an email list. In fact, an email list is actually something that Kevin Hart used to be able to build himself up to the level of popularity that he's at today. So back when he was still young, back when he was still doing gigs, what Kevin Hart would do is that he would leave these small 3x5 index cards on the chairs of each of his audience members. So and on these index cards, he would ask for their name and their email addresses. So after the show, after his gig, he would collect these cards and then he'd input them into the list that he was building of all the people who've watched him and who've enjoyed his show. And then whenever he'd have another show in the same town or a nearby venue or nearby town or city, he would email his entire list telling them, hey guys, I'm performing at this site or at this bar or at this club at this dates. You can come watch me there. And this is how Kevin Hart built his following one email at a time. So eventually, now he's at probably 1 million true fans who watch his Netflix specials, who go to his comedy shows. And so the thing you have to remember here is that all these examples that I've laid out, they all started with building first the 10 true fans, then the 100 true fans, the 100 true fans, and then they build it up all the way to 1,000 true fans. It's slow, it's steady, but it works. And eventually, you may even reach Kevin Hart's status. And the thing is, you don't need to be on a New York Times best-selling list. You don't need to be in a museum catalog. You don't need to be in the Billboard Top 100 songs. Not necessarily. You look at Ren, who wrote Hi Ren. He isn't necessarily charting the tops with his songs, but he's making a huge impact and he's getting a lot of followers and subscribers. And so when you think about that example specifically, it shows you just how democratized art is right now. I mean, that anybody can build a following as long as they stay true to their vision, as long as they learn their craft, as long as they know how to market and present themselves. And so now more than ever, it's really up to the artist to really go out there, chase after their dreams. And now more than ever, it's more possible. And so I get it, you're at this stage. You probably have 10 subscribers. I mean, I have 14. As of this recording, I have 14 subscribers. But eventually, you'll get there. We'll all get there eventually. Just don't focus on the money for now. Instead, focus on the craft. Focus on building the skills that will help you get you to where you are and get you to become the person or the kind of artist that you want to be. Somebody who's able to make an impact in other people's lives. I have this quote that's one of my favorite quotes. It's by Seth Godin. I believe he wrote it in Linchpin. So he said that art is a gift that changes the recipient. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that even if you feel like you're not being heard, even if you feel like nobody's listening or nobody's seeing you or you're just basically invisible, your art has the capacity to change people's lives. You just have to get it out there so that enough people are aware of it and enough people will be able to actually see it for what it is. In other words, you can change the world with your art. And your art doesn't have to be a masterpiece for it to do so. It can be something as small as cartoons with motivational quotes on them. And you've already changed a life. Even if it's just 1,000 people whose lives you're impacting, that's still a significant amount of people than you probably meet in your entire life, right? And so I hope that this has motivated you to just keep going at it, It doesn't matter if you're just at 10 subscribers, 10 followers, or 100, or 500, or even if you're already at 1,000, just keep going at it. Eventually you'll get there. You'll find a way to make your art or your passion, your business, or your career, you'll be able to make that impact that you want to see in the world. Now, if you're wondering how you can get started, or if you think you require help when it comes to the copywriting, let's say writing titles, writing captions for your social media, or email headlines, I have a copywriting spellbook that I wrote that I'm selling over on Gumroad. It's just $8, and it teaches you my formula and my structure of how I write copy that gets views, that gets clicks, and that basically encourages your audience to choose you over other people. I've worked as a marketer for over 10 years now, in digital marketing and social media. And so this is the culmination of everything I've learned and applied into one distinct structure that I hope might help you as well in your creative journey.